Hey guys, my name's Colin and this is my intro video to my Fredericton Marathon 250 attempt build. So my plan is to film some of my weekly workouts leading up to the marathon, which is 16 weeks away. And every Sunday evening, I'll upload my weekly videos to just show you guys what my training has been like. I am a very average runner who's trying to build up and get a little bit faster every year. So this will be my fourth road marathon, and my training has always been super sporadic and not very consistent, which brings me to the three reasons why I decided to start uploading some of my training leading up to this marathon. Number one is accountability. I'm hoping that filming a little bit of my training will force me to be more consistent than I have been in the past. Number two is I live on the east coast of Canada, and I'm a huge fan of YouTube and longer form YouTube running content. And I just wish there was more running content coming out of this area in the Maritimes. And I'm not saying there isn't any. I have a few favorite channels of some people that upload running content in the Maritimes. We have What Matters to Matt out of Fredericton, who uploads all the time. A lot of great running content. Another one of my favorite channels was Amy Spur Kavanaugh. She's in Nova Scotia, although she has a couple young kids, so she doesn't get to upload as much. Also Davian Sky, who is more of a travel kind of adventure channel. But Dave seems to enjoy some of the ultra running and will bring his GoPro along on some of the races. And I really love those videos that they end up uploading. But I just think that there could be a lot more content coming from a lot of creators who like to run in the space here in the Maritimes. So I thought, why not join in and try to do a few videos myself? And thirdly, I've always wanted to practice more editing of video and color grading of video. So if I'm doing it every week with these uploads of my training, it'll be a good excuse to practice all of those things. So a quick rundown about who I am and my kind of journey to running and where I'm at right now when it comes to marathons and my current marathon training. So I'm a former team sports guy growing up. I never really enjoyed running at all. When my team sport career was done, I got out of shape. I was just not in a good place physically and mentally. I decided to start running a 5K loop in town here, basically just to try to get a little more exercise in my life. And in order to keep the momentum going, I decided to sign up for a marathon. This was around fall 2018, so the marathon that I decided to sign up for was in the spring of 2019, and that was the Scotiabank Toronto Marathon. So the marathon ended up being my first race that I ever signed up for, which was definitely a bad idea. I ran fairly consistently through the winter and leading up to the marathon, but there was no real training plan. I never did any speed workouts. I just ran slow basically every day with a long run on the weekend. So that first Toronto Marathon, I ended up running a 3:59. The last 10 to 5 kilometers, I was crying. A picture of me crossing the finish line just in pain. Bruh. Overall, I was glad that I finished, but at the same time, it wasn't the most pleasant or enjoyable experience. But it didn't deter me from running completely. I ended up continuing running consistently that summer, and I found my love for trail running. I found out there was a 50K race here in New Brunswick in Fundy Park. I signed up for that 50K, and that ended up being in September 2019. I ran the 50K. It was far more enjoyable than the marathon was, so I was well on my way to continuing my running journey with a little more excitement. But then the pandemic hit, so there was 2 years basically of no racing. So when the races kind of started rolling again, it was 2022, and I signed up for the Fredericton Marathon. I trained fairly consistently leading up to it, and I shaved quite a bit of time off from my 4 hours-ish marathon in Toronto and ran a 3:18. So at the time, I was pretty happy with that. I was still quite a ways away from a Boston qualifying time for my age group. So 2023 comes along. I sign up for Fredericton again with the idea of trying to run a Boston qualifying time, and at that time, the BQ for my age group was a 3:05. No real plan again when it comes to training, just trying to get out a little more often. And I threw in at least one speed work session every week. So the 2023 marathon, I end up running a 3:02. So shaved a little bit more time off and hit that Boston qualifying time by 2 minutes. So I'm seeing slight improvements every year. 2024 comes, I sign up for the Fredericton Marathon again with the goal to run under 3 hours. My training does not change very much from the previous year. I'm still just doing one speed session a week, usually a 1 minute on, 1 minute off times 10. I do my long run on the weekend and just go into the 2024 Fredericton Marathon hoping for the best. And luckily I just pulled that goal off and run a 2:59, just under 3 hours. And now that brings us to 2025. I sign up for 2025 Fredericton Marathon once again. This will be my 4th time running it. I'm setting a little bit more of a lofty goal this year with a attempt at a 2:50 marathon. So the Boston qualifying time for my age group now has actually dropped. So it's now a 3-hour marathon. So I have to get under 3 hours no matter what to get that BQ. And this year I'd actually like to try to get into Boston. Before I was just kind of trying to get that BQ just to say that I got a BQ without actually wanting to go to Boston. So I'm trying to change up my training a little bit to be a little more consistent and maybe actually increase my mileage weekly. Weekly mileage is not something I've ever paid attention to. I've always just gone off of feel, and going off feel has actually worked fairly well for me, but I'm hoping that if I intentionally attempt to increase my mileage this year, that my chances of running that 250 marathon may increase. So just to show what I'm talking about when it came to my prior training and how inconsistent and random it was, I'm gonna go back to 2023 here. And you can see I was injured all of the start of 2023 in January, so there was no training. The start of February, I started picking it up. You can see my weekly mileage here at the top right of each week. You know, I wouldn't barely ever hit 70 kilometers a week when it came to my training. I think I maxed out here at 78.9K in April. And then May 8th and 14th, that's the week of the marathon. If we keep going to the next year, you can see here in January, I start to run a little bit earlier than the year prior. You know, I'm running fairly consistently, but I'm still not getting very high weekly mileage, mostly 56, 58. I was sick this week. I missed a whole week in March. Came back with a 70 kilometer week. Then again, I'm just going 60, 50. I hit a 100K week there only because I did a big trail run with my buddies 2 weeks out from the marathon. So there's marathon week. I hit 78K, and that's when I ran my 2:59. So as you can see, my training has been very inconsistent. My mileage has never been high. So that is kind of my main goal this year leading up to Fredericton 25. And my 250 attempt is to increase my weekly mileage starting in February to around 70 to 80K. I think that's probably the max that my body can take, but we'll see. If I start to feel good, I may increase that even more. But yeah, that's the intro to my weekly uploads that will be happening. Hopefully you'll want to follow along. Would love to hear any comments, or I'm very open to taking any suggestions on what I should do leading up to this 250 build. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.